KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Man, I guess we're getting hammered with rain this Friday, huh?
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
I've been calling around pretty much all day trying to figure out if anyone is still playing football this Friday in or around the state of Oklahoma. Because pretty much everybody that was playing on Friday night has moved their game to Thursday. I don't like sitting idle on Friday nights. I'm supposed to be watching high school football on Friday nights. I'm supposed to be covering high school football on Friday
your
nights.
Dodgers are starting the World Series, so you got something to do there.
That is true. That is true. It's about that time of the year where I start watching the Dodgers.
That's the most bandwagon thing I've ever heard.
Listen, they've made me into a bandwagon fan. I used to be a loyal, die-hard Dodger fan. Then they started spending $500 million a year to basically just buy the best roster in Major League Baseball, and it became much less enjoyable.
I mean, I will say I'm okay with a Friday night not having to call a game. I'll watch the World Series. The Lakers are playing on Prime TV, so I'm going to watch that too. And then we'll go from there.
Is America rooting for the Dodgers?
I highly doubt it.
Feels like you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place as just a casual baseball fan, because the Dodgers have kind of become the evil empire of the league, the team that wins by shelling out inordinate amounts of money. But then, of course, on the other side, you have the Blue Jays, who are from Canada. So either you root for Canada or you root for the evil empire. Which is the lesser of the two evils? Who's to say?
I just want entertaining baseball. Are you going to be at Norman North's game this Thursday night?
Yes, I will be there.
That's where you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for you on Saturday morning covering the OU game because it's supposed to still be raining.
Yeah, I would expect it's probably going to be pretty mushy. Have to make sure the cameras stay dry. But hey, it takes what it takes. Going to demonstrate championship strain on the sidelines because that's what we're about. Tattoo Baker says, Oklahoma State Laker fan. Come on, Grayson. I think they're accusing you of bandwagonism.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've been a Lakers fan since I was like 6, though.
It's permissible. You grew up in the Kobe era.
I did. Kobe was my favorite player. Slim Brady, says, how'd the Lakers do last night? Hey, we didn't have Bron. It's all right. We're chilling. Bron's over here got sciatica, which is basically the version of DNP old.
Yes, correct. That's how you know you're old.
Yes.
That's how you know the time has about come to hang it up. That and the fact that your son plays for the same team as you, which is cool, no doubt, but it's about time, Bronny. It's about time for you to take the torch and for the old man to ride off into the sunset.
Turbin Meyer says Bixby moved their drubbing of Mustang to Thursday.
Somebody pointed out there might not be enough referees for everybody to play on Thursday.
I heard about that too.
I wonder, I have a few friends who referee games. I might have to get some insight in that regard because if you play on Friday, you're going to be playing through miserable weather.
Mm-hmm.
Miserable weather. Santa John says, does rain benefit the offense or defense more? I would say probably the defense, right?
You would think.
You don't often see 52-49 shootouts in pouring rain. It's usually like 6-3 slugfests. Jim in Arlington says, oh, Canada. Shut it, Jim. We're Dodger fans this week, dang it.
Hey, man, I like Canadians. I have quite a few friends from Canada.
I have partial Canadian ancestry, but I am an American and a patriot first and foremost. I'm not rooting for the Blue Jays.
I mean, I'm not rooting for them because they eliminated my team.
Oh, that's right. You're a Yankees fan, aren't you? Yeah, you really are a bandwagon.
We don't have time on this show to discuss my fandom of the Lakers and the Yankees.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. The program is brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Family owned and operated, and if you're looking for a brand new vehicle, why not a GMC? They offer some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today, and Dorsey Jones can offer you fantastic service, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So make the short drive out to El Reno and check in with the good folks at Dorsey Jones. Now, as we start to dig into our actual subject matter, as the text line devolves into chaos before our eyes, here's where I want to start today. And this is a theme that I guess we've touched on it here and there. We haven't really had a dialed-in discussion about it. And that is the reality that Oklahoma, Grayson, is starting to focus on the West Coast again on the recruiting trail. It's been a good long while since Oklahoma was regularly recruiting the state of California. But when you look at the net that they have cast in the 2027 cycle, there are a ton of California prospects that the Sooners have offered and are pushing for and making every effort to get on board. They've already done so with four-star wide receiver Damari DeJearn, who is one of Oklahoma's 5 commits right now in the 2027 cycle. And they're embracing the villain role this weekend because they're hosting four-star edge Taven Epps out of Tustin, California, who just so happens to be committed to the Texas Longhorns. So, Epps, DeJearn, many, many others, Khalil Terry, a safety with Oklahoma ties out in the state of California, Miles Baker, a 4-star safety with ties to the Midwest. Think about a guy like Elijah Harmon, big-time defensive tackle that Oklahoma's pushing for from out west. Oklahoma is making California an emphasis for the first time since really the Bob Stoops era.
Yeah, they are. And doesn't it seem like that Oklahoma has covered its bases in terms of the corners of the United States? Bringing in Brent Venables with his background at Clemson kind of got them that in. Well, not exactly got them the in, but they've done a really good job recruiting and making waves on that side of the country. Especially you look at them going into Florida and getting a guy like Lewis Carter a couple of years ago, right? That's the first one that springs to mind. But now when you bring in a dude like, and I know you're going to go this direction, so I'm going to jump the gun here, a guy like Stacy Ford, who has those connections out on the West Coast, a guy who used to work at UCLA. I really do think that that's going to matter in terms of the fact that you can broaden the net that they've cast. And obviously we've talked about this before on this show, but the wider of a net you can cast and the bigger relationships you can build with guys that aren't just in Oklahoma, now you're talking about a potential to get back to where Oklahoma has always been, and that is, top 5, top 7, perpetually in the national championship conversation. It's going to start, especially this day and age, with the rapid movement and having to pay people and the turnover that is constantly happening. You got to be sure that you cast a broad enough net, and they're doing that, and that's going to get you on the right track.
War Sooner asks, isn't Grayson Halton from California? Yes, he's one of very few Californians on Oklahoma's roster right now. Of course, they snagged him at the very tail end of the 2022 recruiting class, right when Brent Venables and the brand new staff got to town. He had been committed to Oregon for a long, long time, backed off his pledge to the Ducks, and wound up committing to Oklahoma a couple of weeks before signing day for the class of 2022. So Grayson Halton is a notable Sooner that they've gone out and landed from the state of California in recent years, and he's not the only one. B.J. Brooks, I know he's not around anymore, but that was a Cali kid. Who the heck else? The text line will know. For whatever reason, I'm struggling to shoot from the hip here and rattle off other Californians that are on Oklahoma's current roster. But Grayson Halton is certainly the one that comes to mind. Dominic Williams right there alongside him down in the trenches. Dominic Williams, don't really think about him being a California native because you know him as a TCU transfer. But it's one of the unique things about TCU as an institution. They have a very strong student body pipeline to the state of California. Like, not just when it comes to athletes. There are a lot of Californians represented in TCU's student population. Always thought that was kind of interesting. But that's enabled them to recruit that state reasonably effectively in years past. And one of those guys that they went out and landed was Dominic Williams, whom I believe they flipped from Cal, if I'm not mistaken. So Williams, Halton, I would say those are the two most prominent Californians on Oklahoma's current roster. And a 405 listener points out it's not just Amari DeJean. Oklahoma does also have a Californian receiver committed in the 2026
Daniel
class
Odom
as well. And Daniel Odom, yes. Hawaiian Sooner says, guys, how about the West Coast? I am obviously biased, but Hawaii and American Samoa, those guys are related to big-time recruits who live in the mainland. Example, Darius Afalava's dad is from Kahuku, Hawaii, and have relatives that live in Utah and California. And yes, Darius Afalava came to the University of Oklahoma from Lehigh, Utah. But he, of course, is of Samoan descent, Polynesian descent, as is Jet Nu. Jet Nu is Tongan. So I believe he's actually the very first Tongan quarterback ever to sign on scholarship at a P4 institution. And by natural consequence to play a snap, because he did play a couple of snaps in Oklahoma's victory over Kent State earlier this year.
Is Ricky Lolohea of Polynesian descent too?
Yes, he is, and I don't remember when the last time Oklahoma signed a player out of the state of Hawaii. They've rostered players that are from the state in years past. Obviously, the most conspicuous example is Dylan Gabriel, right? But Dylan Gabriel came to Oklahoma via UCF, so I can't recall when the last time Oklahoma went out to the islands and signed a player out of high school was. Travis from California, good call. Jeremiah Cradell, current Oklahoma defensive assistant, former cornerback here at OU, signed from the state of California in the 2019 cycle in a recruitment that came down to Oklahoma and Oregon on signing day. Grill Boy, Travis Davidson points out Lincoln Riley had a bunch of Californians committed right before he took a job in California. Weird. I noted that at the time, and everybody called me a conspiracy theorist on Twitter. But it's interesting, isn't it? The alignment of those facts, how Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley had never really recruited the state of California before until the very early stages of the 2023 recruiting cycle. And then Lincoln Riley takes the USC job, and it's very easy to essentially import all of those guys to his new recruiting class at USC. Obviously, Malachi Nelson didn't pan out. He got benched at UTEP most recently. So,
yikes.
Get ready to learn Oklahoma Panhandle State, buddy. But Mekhi Lemon did turn out to be a pretty dang good player.
He did.
Yes,
he did.
He's been good.
Yeah, he's been really good. He might be their best player right now. Travis also on our YouTube chat said, Grayson from Texas, NBA team Lakers, MLB team Yankees, Parker from Nebraska, Buccaneers and Dodgers. Down is up, up is down.
Listen, I'm perfectly willing to explain that. A lot of my family went to Biola, Bible Institute of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yes. So my whole family's a bunch of Dodger fans. I was grandfathered into the Dodger fandom. I just kind of latched on to the Bucs when I was a child because I wasn't grandfathered into any NFL fandom, and they were terrible for years and years. But that was my team from the time I was 10, 11 years old.
Jackie also on a YouTube chat said, just wanted to give you a shout out. I'm on the West Coast. Every noon seeing the YouTube notification from y'all gets me through another hour of work.
Well, good. That's what we're here for, folks.
We are on at noon on the West Coast.
That's true, isn't it?
I just realized that.
Wow. So Jackie spends her lunch hour with us.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. I love Pacific time.
Mountain time is my favorite.
I love Pacific time, and here's why. Because on a weekend, football starts at breakfast time.
That is true.
And football ends in time for you to get to bed at a reasonable hour. it's all wrapped up by like 10 p.m. But, you know, and my grandparents used to live out in California, and that was always the great thing was, you know, you'd wake up, eat some breakfast. You'd be finishing breakfast at 9 o'clock, and there would be sports on TV, live.
Yeah. Tattoo Baker says, breaking, time zones exist.
I love the state of Oklahoma, folks. I love the state of Oklahoma. Have no plans to relocate, but
Eastern time zone is brutal.
yeah, Eastern time zone, not for me.
Like
Pacific
I
time
love
zone?
like I love the East Coast. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but Eastern time zone is brutal for sports.
If I could take the entire globe and rotate it just slightly so that the state of Oklahoma fell into the Pacific time zone, I would do it. That would make my life harmonious beyond belief.
Caleb Kelly, another conspicuous California Sooner.
Yeah, and that was huge when Caleb Kelly chose Oklahoma because that was a time where Oklahoma was not known for playing great defense, and they obviously were not known for their prowess and regular presence out on the West Coast. And he wasn't the only one around that time. Joe Mixon was a Cali kid, for instance. So it wasn't as if Oklahoma was shut out of the state of California, but to go out to the state of California at a time when you had some programs that were in power out west and land a 5-star defender in Caleb Kelly, when you weren't playing great defense as it was, yeah, that was a big recruiting win for Bob Stoops and his staff. And we love Caleb Kelly around here because that dude, I know he's not, he wasn't Sooner bred, but man, he's got that OU DNA. And he's been around for close to a decade now in a variety of roles with the University of Oklahoma.
One more text before we get out of here. A texter in the 719, that's the state of Colorado. I lived on Pacific time. Game day started at 6 a.m. It sucked. I'm in Arizona now, and y'all come on at 1 p.m.
Isn't Arizona the only state in the union that doesn't do daylight saving time?
That I don't know.
So I don't think they spring forward or fall back in the state of Arizona.
They may not.
Which that makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nothing's worse than that Sunday morning randomly in March when you lose an hour of sleep. Miserable.
Yeah, and that generally coincided with me being out till 3 a.m. when I was in college.
See, that's just kind of on you at that point.
Okay, fair.
You gotta plan ahead for those types of things. Oh, I'm losing an hour of sleep tonight. I better get to bed at a reasonable hour. You kind of got to wear that one.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. More of your texts, more OU football and recruiting talk is ahead. We got to hit a quick break, hear from our fine sponsors that make everything possible here at the Ref. Stay with us on the home of Sooner fans. We'll be right back.
In the midst of this exciting football season and return of big league hoops, don't forget, it's health insurance season. November 1st through December 15th is the only time to renew or change your individual health insurance for 2026 without a qualifying event. Due to federal changes, it's more important than ever. Allison Insurance has guided thousands of Oklahomans toward the right health insurance policy. Call Allison Insurance at 745-2968 or 800-580-5587. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
Football is finally back in Norman. Whether you're just after a quick pickup or feeding the whole team, Chick-fil-A on 12th Avenue has you covered. With dine-in, drive-thru, and delivery options on any size order, we've got no problem taking it all the way to the house. In fact, it would be our pleasure. Try fueling up at your next tailgate with a pretzel cheddar club or cool down with the seasonal cherry berry drinks. Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A at 405-310-3189 or use the Chick-fil-A One app. And remember to eat more chicken.
Hey guys, this is Lisa Towie, owner and broker of 828 Real Estate. 828 Real Estate is your premier full-service commercial and residential real estate brokerage and property management firm. With our team of real estate agents and specialized property management team, 828 is here for you in every capacity. Whether a seller or buyer, an investor or renter, please explore our website at 828re.com. 828 Real Estate, service with purpose. 405-701-8881. Call us today.
Things get a little more electric this time of year, especially at Confidence Chevrolet Buick GMC. Get behind the wheel of the all-electric 2025 Chevrolet Silverado EV with exceptional lease deals this month. Or turn heads in the 2025 Buick Envista and save $3,100 with 0.9% APR and no payments until February 2026. Visit us today at 6100 Tinker Diagonal or online. Confidence Chevrolet Buick GMC, a Cavender family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Back with you here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. You're listening to Locked In. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. I will defer this question on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line to our resident Stangs expert. There was a listener that asked, any thoughts on the decommitment of Braylon Edwards, former SMU safety?
Yeah, I noticed that. Haven't gotten a chance to dig into that just yet. I'm not going to lie, I hate to disappoint you. I have been following this Malachi Ziegler thing. That has commanded most of my attention. And the fact that SMU's quarterback is banged up right now.
Yeah, Braylon Edwards, if you're wondering whether Oklahoma's going to be involved there, I don't think so. I can't recall a time where they ever were involved with Braylon Edwards. And again, at this point, they have one safety commit in the 26 class in Nico Jandro, as we discussed yesterday. It would have to be a scenario if they're going to take another safety where it's the right type of guy. I think Caden Hall could be the right type of guy, the 4-star Florida commit.
Or you make him the right type of guy.
In what sense?
Because that dude's good. Meaning, basically saying, no, you take him and you figure it out.
Fair.
That's what I'm saying, because that dude's good.
Oklahoma's got good depth at safety right now. Good young depth, too. You're going to lose Robert Spears-Jennings to the NFL draft, but your committee moving forward at safety consists of Peyton Bowen, Jaden Hardy, Reggie Powers, Michael Boganowski, couple true freshmen in Marcus Wimberly and Omarion Robinson that haven't really gotten a chance to truly get their feet wet just yet, but should see snaps for both of those guys here and there next year. So Oklahoma is 6 deep. 6 deep with very, very talented safeties. Brandon Hall has done a tremendous job recruiting to that room and developing the guys in that room. So if Nico Jandro is the only guy coming in for Oklahoma, that's fine. That is completely fine. Tattoo Baker says, dudes named Malachi don't work out at OU. How many flops named Malachi has OU had? Has there ever been a Malachi at OU? Malachi Nelson didn't even make it.
No.
I'm drawing a blank.
He might be trolling.
He could be trolling. That could be true. Tattoo Baker, you always got to wonder if he's trolling.
Yeah.
Elsewhere on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, a 940 listener from the state of Texas says, with the coaching carousel in the state it is, and BV starting the season off on the hot seat, what would each of you grade BV at on a hot seat level and an overall performance level thus far? I'm very pro BV, just curious on your thoughts. Here's my opinion on that matter. First and foremost, I was talking to a very well-placed source in the agent community earlier this week who told me, and I think we're starting to get some sense of this reality, but this only furthers the notion of the chaos of what we're going to be looking at in a couple of months here. This source told me basically nobody in college football is happy with their job right now. There are very few coaches in college football who are happy with their current situation.
Yikes.
Now, one of those guys who is certifiably happy is Brent Venables. Like, Oklahoma at this point has the type of long-term stability that a lot of other schools can't promise or can't offer because you have, for one thing, demonstrated continuity on staff over the last several years, over the course of the Brent Venables era, because of Brent Venables' original on-field staff of 11 assistants, how many of them are still around? Okay, 10 assistants, I should say, because Brent Venables is the 11th on-field coach. How many of those 10 assistants are still around? Todd Bates, Miguel Chavis, Jay Valai, Brandon Hall, Joe John Finley, DeMarco Murray, Bill Bedenbaugh. You've only had 3 of Venables' original on-field assistants move on, those being Ted Roof, Jeff Lebby, Cale Gundy. That's it. Everybody else has been on staff since the inception of the BV era. So you can sell stability, you can sell continuity, and reality at this point is I think Brent Venables' job is 100% secure going into next season. About the only way that things could crater here is if Oklahoma went 0-5 the rest of the way, which just frankly isn't happening. Like, Brent Venables, I'll say this, his job is 98% secure. He can make it 100% secure by beating Ole Miss on Saturday. And so if I was grading Brent Venables on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being coolest, 5 being hottest, he's at a 2 right now, trending in the direction of being a 1. And an overall performance level, over the course of his entire tenure as Oklahoma's head football coach, B-, probably. Trending in the right direction, right?
I don't know if the fan base is going to like that. Not with 2 6 and 7 seasons in there.
Well, you understand why those 6 and 7 seasons
Context matters.
Context does matter. And so, I'm not going to get too terribly high up on the scale with Brent Venables. I would say a good solid B-, trending towards the upper ranks of that scale rather than the lower rungs. But all in all, I think Brent Venables, since he got to town, well, first and foremost, he's done what you primarily hired him to do, which is fix the defense. In year 4, Oklahoma has the best defense in the country. That's what it looks like. They can officially receive that stamp, I think, from pretty much everybody in concert if they go and power down Trinidad, Chambliss, and Ole Miss this weekend. At that point, 8 games through the season, I don't know how you can label any other defense in the country other than Oklahoma the premier unit in college football.
His grade gets the huge bump because of what he's done with the defense. And, you automatically get a bump if your side of the ball is as dominant as it's supposed to be. And, look, they're starting to win games now. So, what would I give him in totality? Probably a B. I think he's a B to B- coach. I think game management still is a little bit, you'd want a little bit more there. But in terms of your side of the ball being dominant, it seems like he's gotten an offensive coordinator right with this hire, rectifying the mistake from last year. And dudes are healthy. So I'm going to give him a B to B-. In-game situationally, as the head man, not as a defensive play caller, but as the head man, still leaves you scratching your head just a little bit.
Several listeners pointed out Zach Alley and said I missed Zach Alley. No, I didn't miss Zach Alley. I was talking about Brent Venables' original staff. Zach Alley wasn't a member of Brent Venables' original staff at Oklahoma. Ted Roof was the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, and Zach Alley wound up being his replacement. But again, from the 10 assistants that comprised Brent Venables' original staff when he first took the head coaching job at the University of Oklahoma, the only 3 that are no longer around are Ted Roof, Jeff Lebby, and Cale Gundy. Sooner Bump says, B-, I needed y'all as my school teachers. I would have been on a roll. Does that feel generous to you, Sooner Bump?
I think so.
I mean, again, here's where I'm most specifically judging Brent Venables' tenure as head coach is what has he done with the defense? Because that was the reason you hired Brent Venables. That was the primary reason you hired Brent Venables, is because there was an acknowledgement at the end of the 2021 season that this program is not where it needs to be defensively in order to go compete and contend in the SEC. We know we're going to the SEC. We have 3 years to prepare for it. Let's go out and get the best defensive mind in college football and allow him to transform this unit. And that's what Brent Venables has done. Now, are there still some questions that remain unanswered? Are there still some boxes that remain unchecked? Absolutely. But the reason I wouldn't go lower than a B- right now is because Brent Venables has the best defense in the country.
Yeah, and of course that's what saves him and gives him the cushion. But I will say this, Parker. Yes, he was brought on to fix the defense. That's undeniable. But if you are the head coach, we got to judge you also on head coach type things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am. I am judging him on head coach type things.
Okay.
But, again, maybe conceptualize it this way. You know, if you're looking at a syllabus, you're looking at a syllabus at the beginning of a semester at a given class, and you're evaluating the rubric or everything that's going to go into your final grade. There's percentages, right? And so 50% might be the combination of your exam scores over the course of the semester. 30% might be daily assignments. 20% might be attendance, whatever. But the largest percentage of Brent Venables' grade, in my mind, is what have you done with the defense? And so that's why I would say B-.
And I can see where you're coming from with that. I would probably grade that a little bit lower. But we're splitting hairs here.
Fair. Boomer Brock says, I'd give him a C+. He's turned around the defense, but you can't sacrifice the offense and have multiple 6-6 seasons. Yes and no, Boomer Brock. I don't think Brent Venables has sacrificed the offense. Oklahoma had an excellent offense his first 2 years at the helm. Jeff Lebby's offenses at the University of Oklahoma were statistically prolific.
That's why he's a head coach right now.
Correct. And that may be a guy that's getting some calls at year's end for promotions, if you will, across the coaching landscape. He may have the option to leave Mississippi State and go somewhere a bit more desirable. Arkansas, perhaps? We'll see. But Jeff Lebby's offenses were statistically prolific. 2024, everything just completely nosedived. Seth Luttrell wasn't a great coordinator. Oklahoma dealt with a lot of injuries. You have 2 good years. You have 1 really bad year. 2025, there's been more good than bad so far, no doubt.
Yeah.
The chapter is not finished. It's still in the process of being written with regard to the 2025 offense at the University of Oklahoma. But thus far, Ben Arbuckle and his unit, you've seen much more good than bad to this point. Had a bad game against Texas. On the whole, the remainder of the season, they've been pretty dang good.
I'm glad you brought up Texas in all of this. And the 2 points that you just brought up there, his offensive coordinator hires and his record against Texas, does that drag him toward that B- and some Texers giving him a C type of range? Because now he is
easily.
I mean, because now he's 1-3 against the Longhorns.
The 2 major knocks on Brent Venables, in my mind, and I think most would be able to agree with this. The two major knocks on Brent Venables to this point in his coaching career at Oklahoma as the head ball coach are the Seth Luttrell hire and the record against Texas. Those are the two things you can't really defend. Can't defend the Seth Luttrell hire, can't defend the record against Texas. Those are what they are. And they get integrated into the calculus as significantly limiting factors to the overall grade. Joe in Tulsa says, we had 1 year of bad offense. We are 6-1, top 12. Brent gets a B+. Okay, so Joe's a little bit more optimistic there. Spartan Sooner brought up the other thing that I feel like you can ding Venables for. I feel like BV's game management, though not great, is much better this season. Curious if that could be due to any of the recent hires he brought, like Kevin Wilson. We've only seen one instance of blatant mismanagement.
Of what the hell are you doing?
Yes, and we all know, our minds are all going to the same place right now, right? Which is the end of the first half of the Texas game.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, game management hasn't been a problem to this point in the year at all. And so Texas and the Texas game, if you are looking at the 2025 season in a comprehensive sense, you just kind of want to throw away the Texas game. Like, with the understanding that that was 60 minutes of this team at its worst, everything else looks pretty solid, doesn't it? Of course, you can't eliminate that. You can't omit that from the equation.
Especially because of who it came against.
Correct. But no doubt, the good still outweighs the bad.
Tim from Nebraska says, I think your evaluation is quite accurate.
Thank you, Tim. My fellow Nebraskan. Should have known you would come to my defense. I appreciate you, sir. How about this? Coming up on the other side, I have some predictions to offer, and I want to see what you think of them. The coaching carousel, and I referenced it earlier in the show, is going to be absolutely bonkers this offseason.
Yes, it will.
Oklahoma should be able to remain somewhat insulated from it. But I don't think it's out of the question that 20 to 25 Power 4 jobs could change hands. There are 7 vacancies in the Power 4 right now. I'm going to give you my prediction as to who is the next head coach.
Ooh, I love this.
At each of those 7 institutions coming up on the other side. That plus more of your texts, more OU football talk, because that's what we do here. Coming up next, you're on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money. They're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Y'all Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress. We'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
The one thing that we're most proud of here at Lewis Jewelers is our reputation. We didn't have the good fortune of inheriting a jewelry business from our dad or our granddad. My brother Glenn and I started our business 40 years ago as a means to pay for college, and we took turns going to class and running the store. We've always had to work harder at earning your business. We're known for making quality jewelry at affordable prices and delivering service. And we built that reputation one customer at a time. I'm Tim Lewis, and if you're ready to buy an engagement ring, visit us here at Lewis Jewelers. We have so many different rings to choose from that your biggest problem will be deciding which one you like best. And we still work harder to earn your business. Why don't you come in and tell us what it would take to become your jeweler? Lewis Jewelers is on I-35 and more. We want to be your jeweler. Call us at 703-4644. A diamond is forever.
When it comes to buying a home, you need a winning game plan. At Stride Bank, our mortgage team helps you get from kickoff to closing with competitive rates, local expertise, and personalized service. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we'll be right there on the field with you. Learn more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Stride Bank on your team since 1913 with Oklahoma roots and nationwide reach.
Did the recent storms damage your home and roof? Call All-American Roofing today. All-American Roofing has been repairing and replacing roofs for over 40 years and is a second-generation locally owned roofing company. They are also a Google-guaranteed contractor and offer free inspections. Our roofers are GAF Master Elite contractors with a BBB A+ rating. Call All-American Roofing today at 405-787-0400. All-American Roofing, the best roofing company in Oklahoma. 405-787-0400.
The Mont invites you to come by and enjoy our high-quality food and drinks in our historic atmosphere. The Mont has won numerous awards, including Best Restaurant in Norman, Best Appetizer for our great queso, Best Exotic Drink for the original swirl, the Best Patio Dining for our beautifully landscaped patio. Come see the Town Tavern OU football scoreboards dating back to 1947. We'll see you at the Mont on the corner of Boyd and Classen, or call us at 329-3330.
It's spooky season here at Riverwind Casino.
And the monster jackpots are taking over.
Experience all thrills and chills on brand new electronic games.
Celebrate in style as a VIP in a private suite in our Showplace Theater.
Game like an MVP when you play with your wild card.
Drop in every Friday in October to win your share of our $100,000 Creepin' for Cash giveaway.
So keep the good times rolling at your favorite haunt.
And we'll see you at Riverwind Casino.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, know it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Final segment of Locked In here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Cole and Claire Moore on the text line, 405-651-3439. Said, Parker, what was your favorite prediction mechanism from the past? Grayson wasn't here back in the day when you would drop your balls live on air. Those were the days.
Huh?
Yes, they were. It was back when I worked for 24/7 and we had the crystal ball prediction feature.
Okay.
Yes, that was my favorite, Cole. That was my favorite. Because you could you could come up with some
what are we doing now?
You could come up with some very, very clever content with the crystal ball feature. It's a little bit more marketable than the future cast. Or I guess the RPM, which is what we have now. I still haven't entered an RPM prediction. Probably never will. I'm done with predictions.
And ladies and gentlemen, now we're about to go into a segment where Parker gives his predictions about the coaching carousel.
The irony, right? Recruiting predictions. That does nothing but get people fired up in usually more of a bad way than a good way. If things change, and things so often do change. 7 vacant jobs right now across the P4. Penn State, Florida, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, UCLA, Stanford, and Arkansas. There will be more, Grayson. There will assuredly be more. But I've been in touch this week with some high-level sources in the agent world and the national college football realm, just kind of getting a sense of where certain coaching candidates could land based on what ought to be an unprecedented amount of vacancies. And like I said, I think 20 to 25 P4 jobs could change hands because some of these institutions that are currently seeking a head coach will go and grab a sitting head coach from another school, which will create another vacancy. So 20 to 25, that's not an outlandish figure. We already have 7. Here's who I think right now is going to be the next head coach at each of the 7 schools that currently have a vacancy in the Power 4.
Let's go.
I think Florida hires Lane Kiffin.
Interesting.
I think Lane Kiffin is the next head coach at the University of Florida. There's been buzz for years that Lane Kiffin and Florida were going to be a match at some point, and from everything I have heard, Florida is motivated to make Lane Kiffin their guy at pretty much any cost. There's a lot of money that they are ready to commit to Lane Kiffin as their next head football coach. I mentioned this the other day. This is maybe a little bit out of the box. I think Penn State's next head coach is Kalen DeBoer. I don't think Matt Rule is going to leave Nebraska. And DeBoer, as we discussed earlier in the week, is just kind of a weird culture fit in Alabama, being a guy from South Dakota that's always coached in the upper northwest region of the United States. I guess out on the West Coast very briefly with Fresno State as well. But especially with him being the successor to Nick Saban, there's some very understandable rationale for him to want a change of scenery, especially for an elite job like Penn State, because that's what he deserves. Virginia Tech's next head coach, I think, is Shane Beamer. Mostly because from everything I've continued to hear, Grayson, if Shane Beamer doesn't take the off-ramp at Virginia Tech, he's cooked at South Carolina. He's out. They're ready to move on. Now, they want Mike Shula fired first. They want his head before Beamer's. But I don't know that Beamer is going to have much of a choice but to accept the relocation package back to Blacksburg at the end of the year.
Okay.
Now we come to Oklahoma State.
Ooh, what do you got here?
I had to do a little bit of detective work here. I don't know that this answer is as clear because Oklahoma State has been pretty guarded with their search to this point, but there is one candidate. There is one candidate that, quite similarly, no one behind the scenes right now can really figure out where he's going. So it seems a natural match that the candidate where no one can really figure out where he's going versus, or I should say paired with, the school that nobody can quite figure out which direction they're going, seems like a natural fit of the couple puzzle pieces, right? Alex Golesh. Head coach at USF.
At South Florida, yeah.
Yes, and he has a history in Stillwater.
He does?
Yes.
I forgot about this.
So, that makes a ton of sense.
Okay.
On paper. Obviously, G.J. Kinney, I think the luster has kind of worn off him, given the way that Texas State is performing right now as a football program under his direction. And he's got a long-term extension there, so he doesn't need to make a move. The time seems to be right for Golesh. UCLA, maybe this is the one I'm most confident in, even more so than Kiffin. I think UCLA's next head coach is Jedd Fisch. There's heavy buzz behind the scenes that Jedd Fisch is wanting out at Washington and getting out. First opportunity that he can get. And Jedd Fisch is about as good a coach as you can hope for if you're in a situation like UCLA is right now. That makes sense for both parties.
Sure.
Stanford. Here's a wild card for you. Stanford's next head coach, Mike McDaniel.
The Dolphins coach.
Yes, because he is getting fired.
Huh. Yeah. No,
he is getting fired.
No, he's cooked there. And so is Tua, by the way.
And I have it on good authority. He would like to get back to the college ranks. And he would like to coach out west. And when you combine those two factors with the reality that Andrew Luck is the GM at Stanford.
Yes.
And is very much approaching things with an NFL-oriented type of philosophy.
Yep.
Mike McDaniel would make Stanford fun again. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. No, I think that's my favorite pick of yours so far.
And then, last but not least, Arkansas. I'll bet you they go with Eric Morris. I don't think they're going to get Rhett Lashley.
I don't either.
I bet you they go with Eric Morris. And Eric Morris is beyond due. That dude has skins on the wall and then some. He is an outstanding developer of quarterbacks in particular. And if you want to turn a program around, you want to resurrect a downtrodden program, you can do a whole heck of a lot worse than going with a quarterback whisperer. JT in Tulsa says, Fish to Florida is my call. He graduated from there. He did, but the sense I've gotten is Florida doesn't really want any part of Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch is also a guy that evidently has pissed a lot of people off.
Okay.
But some other vacancies that could come available this offseason independently of the stolen coach factor.
Mm-hmm.
LSU.
Potentially.
Auburn, obviously.
Probably.
North Carolina,
We'll see.
It's just such a weird deal there with Belichick.
That's a tire fire.
Baylor, Dave Aranda's been living on borrowed time for a while now.
Yeah.
And then this one's not getting talked about very much. Iowa, because I've gotten the indication that this is going to be Kirk Ferentz's last year. That he's going to retire at season's end. So if that's the case, there will be a vacancy at Iowa. Now, some names, head coaches that might be on the move that I didn't mention when I ran down those 7 predictions. John Summerall's the big one at Tulane. He's a Kentucky alumnus, and so there is somewhat of a belief behind the scenes that if Kentucky is ready to move on from Mark Stoops, they will throw the kitchen sink at Summerall, which makes a ton of sense.
Right.
Lashley, I've been told, is assuredly not taking the Arkansas job, but there's a belief he would listen if Auburn came calling. So
I have heard the same.
We'll see where that leads. And then maybe the most fun detail of all, I don't know, it's a given that Lincoln Riley is back at USC in 2026. And I'm not suggesting he gets fired either. There are tremors.
Okay, so here's the one thing that you left out here. If, in fact, Kalen DeBoer leaves Alabama to become Penn State's next head coach, who takes over for Kalen DeBoer?
Well, the first call they're going to make is the call to Dan Lanning, right?
Yes.
And they're probably going to get told no.
100%.
They're probably going to get told no because I think Dan Lanning understands how good of a situation he has at Oregon compared to how much of a pressure cooker it would be for him at Alabama.
Yeah.
The text line brought up the Wisconsin job. That may come up. I don't know that Wisconsin has the money to fire Luke Fickell.
And that's the thing that you have to realize with these jobs is not only do you have to fire your coach, you got to pay the buyout for the new coach, and you still got to commit $20 million to a roster.
And you got to buy out all that coach's assistants as well.
Yes.
Luke Fickell has a huge buyout at Wisconsin. That's
Yes,
the
he
reason
does.
I didn't mention Wisconsin. That's also the reason I didn't mention Florida State. Because Mike Norvell's buyout is in excess of $50 million. They're in a bind.
They're up a creek with Mike Norvell.
Another interesting detail I've picked up this week, Deion Sanders may not be long for the Colorado job as well.
Yes.
Because of health concerns.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah. So,
what do you think?
It could be a really fun December on the coaching carousel.
Let me throw this one in here for you. Because they just lost this weekend, and I believe they're 3-3 or 3-4 now. Clemson.
How do you fire Dabo, man? Like, how do you fire Dabo after one bad year? After all he's done for that institution.
That's a good question.
It's the wrong mindset. To be clear.
It's the wrong mindset. It's a good question up until you saw what Penn State did with James Franklin. I feel like that, and I know James Franklin didn't win natties at Penn State, but that resets the entire thought process of everything. Penn State firing that dude.
By the way, did you see the feature from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports this morning where it was a feature on Jimbo Fisher where he's sitting at dinner with Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
And Jimbo's walking him through a whole bunch of just like offensive play calls, scheme, philosophy, all that type of stuff. Jimbo Fisher's going to try to score a head coaching job this offseason.
You think would you hire Jimbo Fisher?
I bet you Florida State would run it back with Jimbo, and that might actually be fun.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Again, how's Florida State going to fire Mike Norvell?
There's a major financial hurdle to clear.
Yes.
But one thing I have learned over the years is that if a school and its boosters want a coach out bad enough, they will find the money. Even if they have to go meet with the Saudis to get it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Florida State's boosters aren't doing that. Leave that to Mike Lombardi and the North Carolina Tar Heels. But
what was more of a disaster of a hire, Bill Belichick or Mike Lombardi?
Oh, man. There will be one coaching hire, because there always is every single year, that nobody expects.
You still didn't answer my question, though. Who do you think takes over at Alabama if Kalen DeBoer isn't there?
I think Bama's second call would be to Lane Kiffin. which would create a very interesting arm wrestling match between the Crimson Tide and the Gators. And after that, I really don't know where Alabama would turn. Here's the fortunate thing if you're Alabama. You have a litany of former assistants, former coordinators, under Saban, members of the Saban coaching tree.
Steve Sarkisian.
All over the country. Sarkisian being one of them, right? Like, is that completely out of the realm of possibility if Alabama gets to a point where DeBoer is indeed out and they got to go find somebody? Not by a long shot. All right, folks. Fun show today. We'll do it all again tomorrow. We'll have a lot more recruiting to talk about as we get prepared for OU-Ole Miss at the Palace this weekend. For Grayson, Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Hey, don't go anywhere. The Rush is coming up next. Tyler McComas, Travis Davidson got you for the next 3 hours. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.